And sometimes it worked, but most of the time it didn't. Because content isn't about creativity first. It's about judgment. Once I learned how to decide what was actually worth making, everything changed. Because ideas are cheap. Judgment is the real skill. If it doesn't pass, it's probably not going to make it, no matter how good the idea is. Does this reinforce something I want to be known for? Because random wins just train you to chase the wrong things. Hey everyone, thanks for clicking into this video. For those of you who don't know, I'm Colin. I'm a full-time Chief Marketing Officer, and I like to hop on here and chat about things going on in the marketing and branding world from the point of view of someone who's in the thick of it. And let's get right into it. So, most marketers don't struggle because they don't work hard. They struggle because every week they're asking the same question. What content should I make next? And that question sounds harmless, but it's actually the problem. Early in my career, I was constantly stuck in that loop. Opening a blank doc, staring at a calendar, scrolling for inspiration, saving ideas that frankly I'd never use. And it always felt urgent, like I was behind. So I do what most people do. I default to activity. Post something, try something, ship something. And sometimes it worked, but most of the time it didn't, or at least it didn't work how I wanted. What I didn't realize back then is this. I wasn't failing at content. I was failing at deciding. Because content isn't about creativity first. It's about judgment. And once I learned how to decide what was actually worth making, everything changed. At some point, I realized I needed a way to stop guessing. So instead of collecting ideas, I built filters. Because ideas are cheap. Judgment is the real skill. Today, before I make any piece of content, it has to pass through a few simple questions. If it doesn't pass, it's probably not going to make it, no matter how good the idea is. Here's the first one. Does this reinforce something I want to be known for? If the answer is no, it's out. This is where message pillars quietly do all the heavy lifting. If you want to know more about those, go check out my previous video right before this one. If the content doesn't strengthen a core idea, clarity, trust, positioning, perspective, then it's just noise. Even if it performs okay. Especially if it performs okay. Because random wins just train you to chase the wrong things. The second filter is this. Does this help someone understand something better? I'm not talking about impressing them. I'm not talking about entertaining them. Do they understand? A lot of content looks smart, but it leaves people confused. And confused people don't take action. If a video doesn't reduce confusion, whether it's about the problem, the decision, or the path forward, I don't make it. The third filter is one most marketers skip entirely. Would I still be proud of this in a year from now? This one can hurt a little bit because it forces you to think long term. Trends fade, okay? Hot takes age badly, but clarity compounds. If the content only works right now, I'm usually not interested. Then there's another filter that frankly surprised me. Does this content make the next piece of content easier to make? If something requires a ton of explanation, context, or follow-up just to make sense, it's probably not foundational enough. Good content stacks. It creates leverage. It gives you something to build on. If it doesn't do that, it's usually not worth the effort. And finally, this one matters more than people admit. am I making this because it's meaningful or because I feel pressure to post? That question alone has saved me from a lot of wasted work. Because urgency is a terrible strategy. When content is driven by pressure, it usually sounds like pressure. Now, here's the point where a lot of people ask me the same thing. What about consistency? Don't you need a content calendar? Don't you need to post regularly? And here's the honest answer. Consistency matters a lot, but calendars don't create it. Early on, I thought being consistent meant filling boxes on a schedule. So I built calendars, weekly themes, daily prompts, posting plans that looked great on paper. And every time, the same thing happened. The calendar filled up, but the content either got worse or stagnant. Because the calendar started driving the ideas instead of the ideas earning their place. That's the part most people miss. A calendar is a container. It is not a strategy. If you don't decide what's worth saying first, the calendar just forces you to say more things that don't matter. And that's when content starts feeling thin. That's when people burn out. And that's when brands sound busy but forgettable. The shift for me was simple. I stopped asking, how often should I post? And I started asking, what ideas deserve repetition? Because strong content isn't about novelty. It's about reinforcement. If an idea is truly foundational, if it actually matters, it can show up again and again without ever feeling repetitive. Different angle, different examples, same core meaning. That is real consistency. So now, my process looks more like this. I decide the idea first. Then I decide how often it deserves to show up. Then and only then does a calendar come into play. And when I do use a calendar, it's loose, it's directional, it serves the message, not the other way around. This is also why I'm very comfortable ignoring content ideas, because most ideas don't deserve repetition. They deserve to be ignored. At the end of the day, this has changed a lot for me. Once I stopped guessing, content stopped feeling heavy. Once I stopped chasing ideas, the right ideas just became obvious. And once I stopped trying to say new things all the time, the message actually started landing. That's the part people underestimate. Clarity doesn't come from more ideas. It comes from committing to the right ones. This is also where message pillars quietly sit underneath everything. Message pillars don't tell you what to post. They tell you what matters. They give your content a center of gravity. So when an idea comes up, you're not asking, is this clever? Or will this perform? You're asking, does this reinforce something meaningful? If it does, it's worth making. If it doesn't, it's easy to ignore. That's how content stops feeling reactive. That's how it becomes intentional. That's how it compounds. And ironically, that's when consistency finally shows up. Not because you force it, but because the message deserves repetition. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by content right now, don't start with a calendar. Start with filters. Start with meaning. Start with deciding what actually matters. Everything else gets easier from there. Thanks for watching. And if you want, in the next video I could break down how I turn these filters into an actual content system without burnout or overposting. And hey, if you like this video, subscribe to see my next one. I post my long form every week and daily thoughts in my shorts. Until then, I will see you on the next one.